Vishnu had taken birth as Krishna to do away with Kansa, who was spreading a reign of terror in Bharatvarsh. Krishna took birth as a child of Devaki, Kansa's sister. In this video, I have embellished with paintings taken from various museums showing Devatas praying to Vishnu, insults being heaped upon Devaki by the soldiers of Kansa, and other paintings showing attack on children by demons let loose by Kans, and finally Krishna's appearance at a festival organized by Kans in Mathura, where Krishna and Balaram kill wrestlers posted to kill them by the king. Another important painting is the death of Kansa himself at the hands of Krishna and Balaram. Earlier, accompanied by Krishna and Balaram, a crew arrived at Mathura by sunset. All along the route, the villagers approached the chariot to meet Krishna and his brother and to attain the bliss of darshana. They just could not take their eyes off the divine children. They rested for the evening. The next afternoon, accompanied by Balaram, Nand and other cowherds, Krishna entered Mathura for sightseeing. The city was protected by a boundary wall which had high gates covered with glass artifacts. Even the citizens' mansions had designer gates covered by sheets of gold. A deep moat surrounded the city, and it was not easy for an enemy to ford it. The city had several large public gardens and many smaller ones exclusively for women. The city squares were decorated with golden festoons. The mansions of the rich had their own lawns and gardens in the backyard. There was a town hall, factories, and hundreds of residences of the middle class. The floors, the terraces, the eaves, and the windows were decorated with colorful tiles, semi-precious stones, and glass. The architects had used coral, sapphires, and emeralds, even pearls, while embellishing some unique buildings. On the eaves and terraces, one could see peacocks, pigeons, and parrots basking in the sun and chattering in their separate voices. Please note, this is a description written a few thousand years ago. It shows the lifestyle of the people who inhabited Mathura. The streets had been sprinkled with water in order to settle the dust. At several nooks and corners, one could see scattered garlands, rice flakes, and barley sprouts. Outside several mansions, auspicious pitchers filled with water, mixed with curd, and painted with sandal paste had been placed. Pots of areca palms were arranged everywhere. Tender banana bunches had been strung in the festoons. Colorful silken buntings were hung all over. Tiny lamps, ready to be lighted after sunset, had been arranged. As Krishna and Balaram entered the city walls, women climbed to the rooftops to have a look at the duo. In a hurry to reach the terrace, quite a few of them had dressed topsy-turvily. A few of them left their meals half-eaten. Krishna walked with the majesty of an elephant. The face that had captivated even Lakshmi delighted the onlookers. He smiled and cast mischievous glances at the women. These ladies had long heard of Krishna's exploits. Their desire to have a look at Shyam Sundar was fulfilled this afternoon. They embraced him in their imagination and felt delighted and blessed. It satisfied their cherished longing and excited their bodies. His darshana, writes the Rishi, quenched their virha agni. The women of Mathura showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram. One could see a smile on the faces of these women. They rejoiced in the moment. The denizens of Mathura worshipped the two brothers by offering curd, puffed rice, pitchers full of water, flower garlands, sandal, and other presents. Frequently they exclaimed, "The gopis of Vraj are indeed fortunate that they have lived for years side by side with these handsome gods who are a source of ultimate bliss." In a short while, Krishna and Balram arrived at the festival hall where a rare bow had been displayed. It glistened like a rainbow. It was an expensive bow and was embellished with many artifacts. It was protected by soldiers. Despite being prohibited from doing it, Krishna lifted the bow and pulled at its string. The bow broke into two pieces. The resultant sound, like a thunderstorm, frightened the king, who was in his palace at some distance. The forces stationed near the Dhanusha challenged Krishna. He vanquished them in no time. That night, Kansa could hardly sleep. Later, he dreamt of his death. He found himself embracing ghosts in a wilderness. He saw a garland of skulls around his neck. He found himself standing naked in a cremation ground. What a sight and what imagination of the writer. Next morning, Kansa inaugurated the wrestling festivities. Colorful buntings festooned the amphitheatre. Musicians were beating drums and playing on horns. Colorful flags flew over the public pavilions covered by cloth awnings. The citizens occupied seats according to their caste denominations. Surrounded by vassal kings, Kansa sat on a royal throne. He asked for Nand and his cowherds to be invited into the arena and offered them lavish presents. Krishna and Balaram faced a massive elephant at the entrance to the arena. Their path was totally blocked according to Kansa's plan. Krishna challenged the Mahavat to move the elephant, but to no avail. Rather, the Mahavat goaded Kuvalyapid the elephant to attack Krishna and Balaram. The mammoth element rolled Krishna in his trunk and made an effort to lift him before suffocating him and crushing him to death. However, Krishna slipped out of it. While Kuvalyapid was still sniffing to catch Krishna, the latter bent around and caught hold of his tail and dragged him backwards for several yards. At one point, Krishna playfully rolled on the ground in front of the elephant. The latter hit the ground with his fierce tusks, but Krishna had slipped away. He now jumped onto the trunk of the elephant and pulled his teeth out. Soon, with those teeth as weapons, Krishna killed the Mahavats and later bled the elephants to death. Holding the blood-soaked ivory in his hands, Krishna entered the wrestling arena and soon vanquished the well-known wrestlers Chanur and Mushtik. The residents of Mathura, writes the Rishi, were delighted to see what was happening. They knew that the cruel king would soon meet his end. Realizing that all his plans to kill Krishna and Balaram had come to nothing, Kansa ordered the music to be silenced. He ordered his soldiers to throw Nanda and his companions outside the city walls after depriving them of all their property. Meanwhile, Krishna and Balaram had reached the throne where Kansa was seated. Even before the maternal uncle could raise his sword, Krishna called hold of him like a Garud catching hold of a reptile and threw him down on the floor. He then jumped onto the king's chest. This killed Kansa in no time. Krishna and Balaram, the narrative continues, now traveled to the prison where Vasudeva and Devaki were lodged. They touched the feet of their parents and released them from their fetters. Vasudeva took them to his heart, although he could not understand how he could enclose Parameshwara in his arms and how to treat God as his son. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Sri Krishna. Jai Sri Krishna. Jai Sri Krishna.